Hi, this is Jens Bunnell at the Door to Door Con 6 Expand podcast here with the epic Rick Martinez.
Nope.
Rick is the director of talent acquisition at Pure, which is epic in its own right. The legendary status is the no soliciting bruh page. You're running that, the meme lord himself.
Yep.
Ricky, how you feeling, man?
Feeling great, man. It's
Good.
exciting. There's so many people here.
Yeah, how's it been? I know you've probably been bombarded with people.
It's been fun. Like, obviously, yeah, there's a lot of people who I've talked to on social media that this is one of the very few places that we can actually talk in person.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
it's been a long time coming, meeting a lot of people from social media here. So it's been really exhausting, but it's also been super fun.
Yeah.
It's like I've been seeing their journey from afar, and it's finally nice to put a face to the name.
Yeah, that's awesome. I'm sure it's cool for them too to see the face behind the page, and be able to meet you and talk to you personally. All right, so we were talking a little bit before we jumped on here, just a little bit about your journey, your growing up. I mean, it's obviously been a journey for you to get where you are. A lot of people, you see people that blow up and they're kind of big names in the industry, and people think like, kind of in our minds, we think like they've always been that way, right? That they've always been there, but it's probably been years and years of growth, years and years of the grind to get where you are now. So maybe take us a little bit through that journey and what you've experienced and how you have gotten to where you are today.
Cool. So I've been doing door to door technically since 2012. I served my mission for my church, went to Guatemala, came back. My buddy had tried to recruit me for 6 months to start selling solar out of California. It took me 6 months to commit to a weekend.
And that was 11 years ago.
This was 2014, so we're looking at
2014.
2014.
Okay.
So knocking doors for my church for Jesus to 2012. That was 11 years ago.
Jesus to slinging solar. Yeah.
Yep, slinging Jesus to slinging solar.
Which that's like 20 plus years in real years.
Yes,
like that door to door life.
That door to door, dude. It was a grind for 2 years. So started doing solar. Throughout the years, kind of learned a little bit more about the different industries. I had a kind of a falling out with the first company that I started with. And then I went to go do pest control, right? Did a summer of pest control. After that, I kind of went back to solar, kind of part-time, did pest control during the summer. So I did 3 years of pest control during the summer, and I would kind of dick around and do solar like half-ass for the rest of the year.
Yeah.
Until the next summer started.
That's what I was going to ask you is, do you feel like it was all at once? It's like, this is my calling. I'm here. Like I'm crushing it. I'm good at it. Or was it more so of like the journey to get there? Like, cause everybody has their own path. And I've seen some people that are immediately like, they're killing it. Maybe they don't get the effort there, but they don't have some. Then some people, it's like a journey to learn it all.
Yes. It for me, it has been a journey. It's been kind of discovering for myself that this is what I'm going to do. I wouldn't say that this is something I'm going to do for the rest of my life, but it's definitely like a good starting point for my career.
Yeah.
And obviously now I've created a name. Now I can do so many other things outside of just selling, right? I understand the business aspect of so many different companies, whether that be pest control, solar, or even alarms. I know how that business runs, right? I can recruit and I can bring people to an organization and I can establish systems and processes to not just bring people in, but keep people for a long time, right? So I'm making myself more valuable in every aspect that I can than just, making sales that bring revenue into the company, right? Anybody can do that. I want to become the guy that, hey, we have to think twice before we even consider to let him go. Or we have to think twice because people want a person like this, so they're going to pay him more money than we can right now. So what are we doing to maybe, if they can pay me enough, but make me feel like this is where I need to stay?
Yeah, that's beautiful. So at one point was it for you that it clicked to where you said you kind of messed around for the first couple of years?
Yeah.
At what point and what was it that did it to like, okay, like I'm going to really go head first into this thing?
It was 2020. Yeah, 2020. It was at Door to Door Con.
Okay.
Prior to this, no one knew who I was. Like I ran the page, but no one knew that it was me. Right? I had talked to Danny Pesci, and Danny Pessi's like, dude, you need to let people know who you are. And from that point, when everybody knew that it was Rick Martinez behind the page, everything just exploded, right? Everybody started asking me questions directly. They started to pick my brain a lot more. And the fact that I had the answers I think created the sense of validity and gave me credibility that I actually knew what I was talking about. And I became this person in the industry.
Yeah.
Right? Like the go-to guy. Now people have launched their platforms through my platform.
Yeah.
So it was probably like around 2020 where I kind of got, I wouldn't say like it was a moment that clicked, but it was that moment that sparked the curiosity to be like, maybe I should keep going with this for a little bit longer.
So cool, because obviously you have a talent in finding content, creating content that resonates with people, but that only goes so far a lot of times.
Yeah.
You know, and so for you to be able to move into a space where you have a ton of knowledge and are able to deliver on that knowledge, that's pretty amazing. No wonder it's been successful since then, right? Because people have seen that validity. It's pretty awesome. Well, again, before this, we were kind of talking. You said that you just sat down in a chair and you had like 4, 5, 6 people just come up to you and sit down. All kind of similar questions, all similar vibe, and you gave them a couple of tidbits of advice, right? Yeah. Which I thought was really cool, and I think the listeners it'd be blessed for them to hear it as well. So maybe you could share a little bit of that, of what's kind of been coming up as you've been walking around this conference.
Definitely. So I've had a lot of people come up to me like they're either fairly new into the industry or they're fairly new into leadership, right? So my biggest tip that I was given is to, one, understand your numbers, right? Take one step back. Everything you do in this industry has to be intentional. You can't just half-ass it, right? You have to go all in and you have to understand the process, and you have to understand, for me, it's my numbers, right? So when I first started doing solar, we used to do these like qualification cards, and we would write the person's information down, take a picture of it, and leave it with them, right? But at the bottom left corner of every qualification card that I ever left with somebody, there were tallies, right? And I would mark down on tallies, how many people I had talked to get that appointment. So sometimes I would have like 3 tallies. Sometimes I'd have 12. One day I remember I had 40 tallies. That would mean that I talked to 40 qualified buyers.
Yeah.
Right? Wasn't that I just talked to 40 people and half-assed every single presentation,
right.
But I gave 100% at 40 qualified buyers that just said no. Right? And the thing is once you understand, today I talked to 30 people and I got 4 appointments, right? Tomorrow, you know that, hey, if I want to replicate that, I need to talk to this many people. At the end of the week, you look at how many appointments you booked and you look at how many people you talked to that week. And then, cool, my numbers for this week are this.
Yeah.
And as you get better at it, you'll see you can start kind of predicting your own success, because you need to, at that point, the input that you need to give out to get the results that you want.
Yeah.
So at that point, now cool, this is what I need to do. You'll start getting better, and you'll start seeing the number of people talked to being less and the amount of appointments you book go up. So that means that you're just continuously getting better at your craft.
So cool.
Right? So you have to have a system, because if not, you're knocking aimlessly. You're kind of expecting to get something, and if you don't, you're like, what am I doing wrong? Well, the first thing is you don't know what you're doing. You don't know why you're doing it.
Yeah.
Figure out why you're doing it, figure out your numbers to get to that point, and then just go out and have the success you want to have.
Yeah.
If you want to go buy whatever you want to buy, just know that that's how much this costs. Just know that, hey, every door, you have to knock this many doors to be able to get that, whatever it is that you want.
Puts a purpose to it.
Yeah.
So you know that if like you go and have 50 conversations to somebody that doesn't have that system, doesn't have that plan, and gets rejected in all those 50 conversations, they'll be like, well, screw it. Like, I'm not going to do this again. But that person that knows that they need 60 on average to get what they want to get, they're like, oh, I only need 10 more. And on average, I will land something that'll close.
Exactly. That's kept me out on the doors super late, being the last one out, right? Before, I'd be like, cool, like, I didn't get anything. I'm just going to go home. I'm just going to count today as an L, right? But if you know that, hey, I need to talk to 6 more people and it's starting to get dark and you haven't gotten the results that you want, you're going to keep your ass out there a little bit later to get that appointment.
Yeah. Beautiful. I love that. In your realm, with talent acquisition, you're dealing with a lot of new people that are coming in, and there's a lot of talk about traits and qualities of people that stay out on the doors. Do you feel like, and I want to wrap this back into, staying out on the doors, kind of the same conversation, but do you feel like there's certain traits or quality you can see in somebody immediately, that whether it's something that's innate or something they've practiced, that you feel like, it's like, this is why these guys are staying. Like, this is why I'm going to hire these guys. I have faith that these guys are going to go produce. Yeah.
First thing is I ask them a series of questions. One of them is, what's the hardest thing you've done? Right? What's the hardest thing you've done recently?
That's good.
and they tell me what it is.
That's
right?
real good.
And then I ask them, like, cool. So now that you did that, because you did that, how do you feel like you came out on the other end because of it? And then they tell me, based off their answers, I don't have a specific format on how I interview. I just ask questions that I know I need to ask, and how they respond tells me how I need to shift the conversation moving forward. Right? So part of it is like, yeah, I ask them questions and they kind of tell me what kind of person they are based off the questions that I ask without me asking directly, like, hey, something to do with door to door, right? And if they're in door to door, I ask them how their experiences have been. Like, I get to know people. Like, my, I guess, gift or my developed skill is having conversations with people and getting information that I need from them based off conversations. But that comes from me asking questions. Getting to know them. Right? I never tell them about Pure. I never tell them about the company that I'm working with. I want to get to know them. Right? What makes them tick, right? What do they need from me? And what do they need from my organization for them to produce at the highest level possible? And then I tell them, like, cool, I think you'd be a good fit for this leader, right? Or for this manager. Or I tell them, like, hey, dude, honestly, based off what you need, I don't think I can't deliver that. So I wouldn't feel comfortable you coming, right? Because then if it doesn't work out, that's on me. It's not on you. That's on me.
Right. So that leads me to my next question is, like, you're setting proper expectations for them from the beginning. Look, I don't want to bring you in not because I don't think you're a great fit, but maybe we're the problem. Like, we're not a good fit for you. Like, maybe you'd be better off somewhere else. And I'm sure it goes both ways, vice versa. How do you, when you're starting to bring people in like that, something I see a lot in recruiting, obviously we talk about a ton, is retention. How do you set proper expectations for those people coming in so they do retain?
So part of that is understanding, like, where the bottlenecks are, like where your personal bottlenecks were when you came into the organization. The biggest thing that people have with recruiting is, I guess the question is, do I feel comfortable bringing somebody into the organization that I'm in? Do I feel like they could succeed here? And if the answer is no, then they're not going to bring them in. Right? Because you have to either, one, hold their hand the entire way, or you have to delegate that to somebody so somebody can hold their hand. If you can't trust yourself, you better have somebody who you can trust to hold your recruit's hand and have a blueprint for them to succeed. If you don't, then you're not going to bring people in, which isn't now a recruiting problem, but it's now a company issue. Where in the company process, whether that's the onboarding process, getting uniforms, getting polos, getting badges, getting training, right? Where is it that you're losing people? Fix that. And then go through the process and figure out where else in the process you're losing people and fix that. And then bring people in, have a trial run, and then you'll see, okay, we need to adjust this, pivot this a little bit, and then people are good to go. Right? That's what it is. It's not recruiting, it's the company problem. So figure out where in the process your company is lacking, get better at that. And then once you bring people in, it's just smoother. Have them know what their first 2 to 4 weeks is going to look like. Give them a real expectation of, like, hey, this is the amount of money that you can make, but this is also, to make this amount of money, this is the amount of work that you have to put in, right? This is what you have to do to get to that point. This is the high end of the earning scale, right? Or the earning potential. And this is the average, right? This is the super, I also give them the super low end, right? Like, this is what the bottom of the barrel makes, right? And it's like, and then they see the big contrast between the highest earners and the lowest earners, and they're like, well, what do the low earners make? Or what do they do? Like, dude, they kind of do whatever. They don't really work at it. They kind of half-ass it. And then once they catch themselves half-assing it, they're like, I don't want to be that person. So then they start kicking things into gear. They start getting training. They start coming in early, training before doors, after doors, and then they see themselves getting better, and they're like, okay, I'm good now.
That's awesome. I'm kind of tracking a pattern of it's so good, and it speaks a testament of how you've been able to manage being in the door-to-door space for so long. But the systems for yourself personally on the doors, and you backtrack to the company, the system of recruiting and bringing them on and having that smooth. Because if you don't, what I'm hearing is you don't have to, in order to have expectations for them to meet, for you to meet, you got to have a system to base it off of. If you don't have that, then you have loose expectations or misunderstandings, and you're going to lose people.
Yeah,
you know,
100%.
Yeah. Beautiful. So, you know, with that in mind, with this system, is there any other parts before we kind of move on this, as far as staying out on the door, staying in the industry? You've been in it for so long. What kind of sticky points have you kept you in the industry? Whether it's something you've done personally, other systems, or companies you've put yourself into, or what has it been that's kept you sticky, as well as what you've seen reps out there on the doors?
Just knowing, for me, like, I grew up super poor. And for me, what's kept me sticky is the opportunity to travel, the opportunity to see things that I wouldn't be able to see if I wasn't in this space making the money that I do. So for me, what's kept me for a long time is I would work really hard, make the money that I needed to make, and then I go on vacation. So I learned how to produce under pressure at that point.
Yeah.
Now I've taken it from, like, I produce in a short amount of time. Now I just produce all year round because of the systems that I have right now. And it's what I want to accomplish. I know that door-to-door is not going to be here for a long time.
Yeah.
I know that solar is only going to be as good as it will be, right? Right. The earning potential is only going to be as good as it can be. We talk about the gold rush, right? The modern day gold rush. To me, that's what it is. It's what I can get out of this in the time that I have. In a more selfish way, right?
Yeah.
In a selfless way that I do a lot of things, like, cool, how many people can I help get to where they want? Because if I help enough people get what they want in life, I will get what I want in life.
Yeah. Well, and the fact that, you know, it's not necessarily selfish to go and dive in and take advantage of it, because what you're setting yourself up for now as a future of helping people.
Yeah.
You know, whether it's money or time, whatever it is, we need both of those in order to serve and help and lift people, right? If you don't have freedom or of time or freedom of money to do that, kind of SOL in that department of, because you got to first help yourself. So that's a beautiful thing. I mean, to be able to capitalize on this and, you know, do it for yourself, but then help people along the way, which you have.
Yeah.
You know, what to you has been the most fulfilling thing in creating your own brand and creating No Soliciting Bruh and all that? What's been the most fulfilling thing for you in that?
Fulfilling thing. So the interesting is that people come in for the memes and they stay for the community.
Cool.
For me, this conference and almost every conference that I go to, I'm approached by people and they're like, hey, you talked to me a few years ago, or hey, I had a conversation with you. And in my mind, I'm like, dude, I don't remember who you are. And then they tell me, like, you gave me some advice. And in my mind, I'm like, fuck, was it good advice? Or was it like, or was I having a bad day? So, and then they're like, because of that advice, I am now in a much better spot in life. Because of what you told me to do, because of your advice, I now am doing this. I was able to do this. And they express a sense of gratitude. That's like, for me, that's the biggest takeaway from all this. Like, this isn't for me. Like, I don't give two fucks about my following. Right. I don't care that it's like, oh, this following, or oh, I have a podcast, or oh, people know me. I don't give a fuck, dude. Yeah. What I care about are the impacts and people's lives that change, and me being able to be part of that, right? Because that's, dude, it's a ripple effect, man. Like, people's lives isn't just right now, but it affects their kids, their grandkids, and just their entire way of life. This is how we break cycles. Cycles of poverty, right? Cycles of abuse, cycles of whatever it may be, right? But people can change, right? And if I have just a tad bit of contribution to that to me, it's worth it.
That's awesome, man. Did you have that vision when you started?
No,
or did it develop?
Not at all. It was just a way for me to post fucking memes. It was like there was two other meme pages, and I said their shit sucks. I can make better stuff.
I can do better.
I can do better.
Yeah.
That's how it started.
Yeah.
And then people started asking questions. Then because I did pests, I did alarms, I did solar, I can answer questions for anybody who has questions.
Yeah. Awesome, dude. It's so crazy how we develop something that really, it's like, hey, I have a talent, I'm gonna just pursue it. For some reason, so often we just think like a hobby. I always think this is like, we have hobbies, things that we love to do. Like yours, I'm sure, like memes, like memery was a huge thing. Obviously, you're really good at it, but it's probably because you really like it, you really enjoy it. And how it can shift like a hobby or a love for something into not helping people and also monetize on it. Yeah. Right. And do that. So that's so cool that it's transitioned. How how did that transition into like, oh, okay, like I'm just posting funny stuff to I'm posting funny stuff. Oh, now I'm like changing lives.
Yeah. It would be like I would post on my stories like if they had questions, like ask me a question, right? At one point I would do like long freaking road trips on blitzes. I did one with Coda, I did one with Blake, I did like a few other with some other people, and like, yo, we're in the car for 18 hours. Ask us any question you want. And we would answer any question that came in. So we provided so much value.
Yeah.
And people would respond and be like, that's what I needed to hear. Or like, I had this question. Thank you for answering it. So because of like just people asking questions, I'm like, dude, I'm bored. I ain't got no time. I'm going to probably smoke a blunt and answer some of these questions. So ask them away.
That's so cool because we hear so much of abundant mindset, especially in this industry, you know, an ability to like give and you will receive.
Yeah.
But it's so true. And you've seen that, right? You've seen it. Like you didn't start the page for any other reason than just to post some funny stuff, right? And the more you've done it, the more you've given, the more you've been open, your career has skyrocketed, your personality in the industry, right? And so, you know, listeners that are listening to this, they feel like, man, I want to do that. It's so often we feel like, oh, I just got to keep it all to myself, or I got to just like grind in my own mind and get to work. When really it's like the more you give, the more you receive. And it's been like that. So if you were to be able to give one thing to this industry, to the people that are listening to this, what would you want to give them?
Fuck. That's tough. I would say, okay, give me a second to think about it. One thing of what I've learned is this. You can do whatever you want to do. It will not be easy. You can change who you are to be a better person. You can go and buy that house. You can go and get that car, right? You can do the things that you want to do. You just have to have a blueprint on how to get there. And you have to know that it's going to be a lot of hard work to get what you want to accomplish. There is nothing in this life that you can't accomplish. And I believe that wholeheartedly, right? I grew up super shy. I stuttered up until I was 17 years old. I was the weird kid, right? And I changed. And I improved on the things that I needed to improve to get to where I'm at. And I'm not done. So I know, and I leave this with the industry, that you can do it. Just stick with it. If you need help, go get help. From wherever that may be. Coaching, mentorship, Jens or Corey, whoever it may be. But just know that you can accomplish anything in this life that you want to. It's going to take hard work. It's going to take a lot of intention. You're going to be at some points where you want to give up. Don't. Just keep pushing through.
Beautiful. Beautiful. I don't know if there's anything more that could be said to an industry that would be more impactful than that, coming from a guy that's been there, lived it, done it, felt it, experienced it, and is climbing a mountain and is well on his way to that top from humble beginnings. Appreciate your story, appreciate your grind and the inspiration that you give to this industry and everybody that you meet around you. It's amazing for me to see people coming up to you and the way they walk away. It's an amazing thing, and it shows who you are at your heart, what you've been through, and where you're gonna go. It's pretty amazing. Thanks, Mr. Rick Martinez, the legendary meme lord, and the amazing gold-hearted person. Appreciate you, man.
Thank you, brother. Appreciate it.
All right.